Okay, three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Security Podcast on the In30 Network. This is episode 183. We're going to call it Trusting People. I don't know why we're going to call it Trusting People, but I definitely trust Tom.
You shouldn't. I actually stole your identity just now.
Well, don't worry. I have a new service provided by some company that provides military grade encryption.
Oh, military grade, you say?
So I feel like I'm protected against
you should absolutely feel protected. Did you also get one of those nice, locking services to lock in your identity from one of the companies where all your information got hijacked?
Yeah, it was from that company that also lost all the information. they're playing that as well. Anyway, so the topic of the show, again, is we're going to start off with, I saw a tweet the other day from somebody who said, after 10 years of marriage, I finally gave my master password to my spouse, to my wife. And I'm thinking, okay, you're married 10 years. This person was married 10 years. I'm married 11 years. That will never happen.
My wife doesn't want my master password because she doesn't want to type all that. So I do have to say, we're both on password managers, and we both do have some shared accounts, like bills. Like, hey, are you going to pay this bill or am I going to pay this bill? It all comes out of the same account. It's just, who's near a computer at that moment. We also, I do have to say, I don't know if this is a terms of service violation, so you might want to keep this on the sly. We have a Papa John's account. So we don't have separate, pizza accounts. That way we can rack up the points no matter which one of us is ordering a pizza, so we can get more free pizzas.
Oh,
yeah.
Papa John's is a very politically charged conversation.
Oh, no. So I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to. Yeah. All I wanted to talk about was pizza. I like food.
So I shouldn't say that I share my Amazon account with my my closest friends to get the Prime benefits.
That's probably I did not hear any of that. Don't worry.
I actually don't do that because I don't want people knowing what I order.
yeah. There is that.
And when we talk about secrets, yes, definitely don't want that. And I definitely don't want stuff inspired by my browsing history because that will only end badly.
Oh, that's the worst. So I left YouTube, logged into my Roku, and my wife was browsing like these Victorian era farm documentaries, like interesting history stuff to someone, not interesting history stuff to me. Like I'm that guy that likes modern marvels and World War II documentaries, and she loves the Victorian era farming and the technology and lifestyle, and that just bores me to death. So I log onto YouTube on my computer a couple days later. It is filled, absolutely filled to the brim with Victorian era documentaries and like recreationists. And I had to go throughout my history and like clear 30 videos of this stuff.
The problem is I wish there was and I know YouTube, I think, is starting this, and I don't know if Amazon has this. Don't record history for the next X number of minutes, or no recording history session. It's not private browsing, it's something else, but they have that. But I wish there was a way to say, you know what, whatever I searched for the last week, just delete it.
Yeah, I did go into my YouTube history recently and just delete everything just to reset all the recommendations. The downside of that is when I go to YouTube, I'm looking for like game talks from the Game Developers Conference. I'm looking for game design tips. I'm looking for random funny gaming videos, stuff like that. I watch a lot of video game stuff. I'm a huge nerd. When I cleared my history, I lost all those recommendations. So when I went to the front page of YouTube, it's like, oh, check out this latest video from Justin Bieber. I'm like, wow, I don't want any of what you're selling, YouTube. It was bad. It was really bad for about a week until I trained the engine to give me what I wanted it to.
Wait till you have a child. So now you get your video game things with, as we were talking about before, MIDI versions of death metal songs.
Hey, there is nothing wrong with MIDI death metal.
For kids, for babies. Twinkle, twinkle, little rock star.
That is awesome.
MIDI versions of that. But yes, you watch there, and then you have a SpongeBob SquarePants episode or a Barney video, or which I had to block. So it's one of those. But getting back, I mean, we lost the train of thought here. Is okay, yes. So now you're a household, you're married, or you have someone that you trust, and you need to share certain things because websites have not made it easy to share accounts. So we run Mint, and Mint takes all our bills. And if you trust them, it's awesome. We learn to trust them. And the problem is that all these accounts you have to import. So Mint needs a username and password, and it's under me. And there was no way to say, hey, add a spouse. So you have to give her that password. Then you have to go to each individual account and log in. And this is where something like LastPass, where you can delegate, becomes super duper useful. But my wife doesn't want LastPass, so we're stuck. So she'll call me up, log into Mint, which has 2 factors. So now I need her to give me the text message code because it doesn't do a security token. Get that in. Log into your TD Bank and re-enable it. And it's a royal pain in the neck, and I should just give her the password, but I still haven't.
Yeah, the best websites and the best services out there will say, hey, you can designate an authorized user to get into your account. They've got like an account switching mechanism. Like you can pull this off in a really slick way. And it's great because we've done that with the sites that support it, where I'm able to say, hey, this is my wife's account. I trust she has good password hygiene. She uses LastPass. She throws everything in LastPass. It's great. So add her as a designated representative on my account. She can do whatever she wants. And it's wonderful. But you're right. There are too many of these sites out there, especially sites that you would just use as a household. They're not like anything weird or esoteric. Like Mint is a really normal website to use as a family. I'm so surprised they don't have that function. So how do we share passwords? How do we do so securely, right? LastPass's delegation function is awesome. It is fantastic. But what if that's not an option?
It's so there's the way I figured out how to solve this, and this requires some trust. So I wrote down my master password in an envelope on a piece of paper. I put my few LastPass one-time code keys, same with my Google stuff, and I sealed it up, and I essentially put it in the safe deposit box. I'm not gonna, and basically what that means is that if something were to happen and my wife needs this, she has to physically get into her car, go to the bank, prove who she is, go into the safe deposit box, get the password, and it's not password, it's like yours, 64 random characters of garbage. Come home, type that in, and then do whatever she needs to do. So that requires a lot of work. And if you're going to go through that work, something's up, and I'm okay with that. But I don't know, but I still don't. I really wish delegation features were more ubiquitous on all these random websites.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Unfortunately, we have to get around that sometimes. So the passwords that we do share, like Netflix is a perfect example, right? It seems almost purpose built to have shared accounts, right? They've got the profiles for people who are watching, and occasionally Netflix will just log out on one of our computers. So I sent my wife my Netflix password. We use WhatsApp to communicate. We know it's end-to-end encrypted. I trust that messaging platform. So I literally just sent her a message with the words Netflix password and sent it to her. Now, when she added that to her LastPass and she made sure it was saved, we both highlighted the message and deleted it off our phones. So it's gone. It's out of the history. There is no way to get that back. And it worked, right? It's kind of low tech, but it worked.
I can see. So you both are on LastPass, and she needs your master password for whatever reason. And that's a hard thing to give because that's literally the keys to everything. And I mean, at this point, I trust my wife that I don't have to worry about this, but it's still really, really hard to say, okay, here's literally everything.
Yeah, so personally, my wife doesn't have any kind of access to my master password. And really, she doesn't need to. For anything financial related or will or lawyer or whatever. She has access to that legally because she's my wife, right? If I die tomorrow, if I get hit by a bus, then she's able to go to the bank and say, hey, I need all of the money, please, because I have to buy a gold-plated casket for my husband when we throw the craziest funeral party known to man. Because that's absolutely what she would do. But other things and other accounts where she doesn't need to know the password, I honestly can't think of anything that she would need that she doesn't have access to through lawyers or legal means.
The other thing is, and I think you said at the beginning of the show or before the show, is I just sometimes don't want that the ability to know that. So somebody can't say, give us this password. I don't know it. It goes back to even on your own personal passwords. I have this master password. I don't know what the other passwords are. I can't give it to you. I can't give you my Papa John's password. And I've tried to explain that to my wife once. She had to order a pizza. And yes, I live in New Jersey. And yes, I order pizza from many, many other places and not Papa John's. But every once in a while, you just want just really less quality pizza than the other guys.
I mean, okay, all right. We're not going to split hairs here. We're going to be totally upfront and honest. Papa John's is better than Domino's, right? We can all agree on that, right? That's no secret. We're not surprising anyone. But Papa John's is not the end-all, be-all of pizza. There are plenty of better places, but sometimes you're in your shorts. It's 95 degrees outside. You don't want to move. I'm not going to go outside. I'm sitting here in the dark playing video games, playing Rocket League. I just want a really crappy pizza really fast delivered to my house. So Papa John's it is.
And exactly. And so my wife's like, I want this because whatever topping it was and whatever side it was, the garlic sauce, I think, is the killer feature.
Oh, yeah.
The buttery garlic sauce. That's
just the only way to make those pizzas edible.
So, yeah. So she's like, I don't know your password. I said, LastPass should fill it in. And she's like, can't you just tell me the password? I'm like, you're not going to be happy if I tell you the password. Just use LastPass. It's open on my... No, you have a Mac. I get that. Just tell me your password. Okay. So then I start reading it off. I copy and paste it. It's like, really? That's the password? It's like, I don't know. That's what it says. If that's what it says, that's what it says. I don't know what it is. And she goes, why couldn't it be something simple? And I go, because LastPass always works. Again, I care about our security. My credit card is saved on file.
So there's one issue, and my wife and I run into this constantly with really, really poorly made student loan websites, where they'll say, hey, what's your password, Tom? And I'll give them the same password I've been giving them for the past however long it's been since it's been changed. And they'll say, we don't believe that's your password. I'm like, no, really, I swear. I used this last week. So then we'll have to change it. That's one of the things that's not synced. I don't have a delegated account set up. So when my wife goes to log in, when she's paying the bills and trying to pay off the student loan, she can't because the password's been changed. And then we have to go back and forth, and we have to resync the passwords between each other through a WhatsApp password sync protocol where I copy the password, paste it into WhatsApp, and hit enter. It's a super technical process. Try to rewind and play this in half speed if you didn't understand it. And I will explain it in our WhatsApp group if you would like to join. But you can get into weird states like that if you're doing everything manually. So it's not perfect, and it does suck sometimes, but it comes up, fairly rarely or rarely enough that we just haven't bothered to figure out a better way.
Well, the problem is that, again, we're relying on passwords for everything, and we're relying on it's a single service. But then what happens if the single service needs to be shared? Like we said, like really IoT things are a great example of your thermostat. Then now you have to give your wife the password, and it's like, why can't you?
Or you don't. It's the thermostat, right? Do you really want her having that much control over the temperature in your house? Do you want your children having that much control over the temperature in your house? Be careful with your Nest thermostat password.
So, but they finally, because we have the problem, oh, he'll recognize when you leave. Well, there's two of us in the house and we don't leave at the same time. And it's really like conceived by people who live singly. So eventually they figured this out. And that was a feature that spread very quickly through the IoT field, creating sub accounts, or like T-Mobile, who you still need the last four of your social, even though you're designated and you have the password. But if you call in, you can't give the password. You can only give the social again. So again, we're talking about this as the master password because if something happens, where you couldn't type it in, you couldn't tell it to somebody, you're somebody else, your spouse has it. And I'm not there yet, but maybe I should be, or maybe I should find another way. But so far, I think your WhatsApp technical explanation is the right answer. And it leaves that security. It's very inconvenient, but it could be worse.
So you also have to, right, you can't solve all human problems with technology. Sometimes human problems just can be solved with human means, like communication, understanding, and setting realistic expectations. I made our Wi-Fi password something crazy long and completely random because when I set it on a device, I just don't have to change it. It's randomly set. Who cares what it is? I set it once and I forget about it. So in speaking to my wife, we've come to the understanding that if ever a device needs to be added to a network, like when she gets her new phone or if she gets a new e-reader, that I am the one who has to type in that password manually on devices I can't just copy and paste. When it comes to setting up a new thing like, a new TV box for Netflix access or Prime Video or Hulu or whatever. Those passwords that are stupid long, it is my responsibility to type them in because I am the one who hurt myself by making them 32 characters long.
Wait till you have kids and you're at work and you need the tablet on now, not yesterday, right now.
Yep.
And, well, look, what you notice is look what Comcast and look what Cablevision and Fios have done. They put the password on the side of the box. And I love going to people's houses and that's the password. No, we changed it. Why'd you change it? Oh, because it was too hard. It was too many characters. Do you know what you changed it to? Nope. That's why you leave that there and you write it down and you feel the pain once or twice, but that's about it.
Honestly, I don't, unless you're going to have like a separate guest network, which is totally cool. I love guest networks. But if you are, allowing people on your home Wi-Fi, if your router is in a accessible place, like in your living room or something, I honestly don't see the big deal in having the password on the underside of the box. If somebody physically breaks into your house, the Wi-Fi password is the last thing they're looking for. It's the last thing they're going to steal. If you flip your router over and somebody uses, a telescope or a pair of binoculars to zoom in and get the Wi-Fi password off of your router, you probably have other things to worry about. I mean, it's not you have to do this sort of thing, but I don't see inherent risk in having a password written down, hidden somewhere next to your access point to say, hey, everyone, it's in here. At one of my family members' house, it's literally like the router is on a counter, and if you open up the cupboard, it's on a sticky note inside of the cupboard. It's a really good password. It's like 60 characters or something. It's a big, long sentence, but everyone knows. Like, my uncle will come over and be like, oh, what's the Wi-Fi password? Oh, it's inside the cabinet. Oh, cool. It's super easy.
Well, I wanted to have, and I think the Echo team figured this out with the hotels. I want to be able to ask the Echo what the Wi-Fi password is. I think that would be a perfect use for it.
That would be great.
And if you make it, send me the socks. I want the socks. If you make an Echo skill, you get a pair of socks. I really do want the socks. There's your idea. But it's And like I went to the problem is people don't want to type it in, so they want to change it, and then they change it. They don't write it down, or they write it down, but they don't remember where it is. Or like in your case, you're the one who has to add it on. And
it's in my password manager, and I've got to unlock the password manager and then stare at my phone on the tiny screen. And then, with the stupid Roku remote, try to mouse my way around their really bad keyboard to figure out where did they put the ampersand? Oh, it's over here. Okay. 32 characters and 6 hours later.
And well, yeah. And or your wife is in her reading and book and wine group, and all her friends want the password, and now she has to explain that you're the crazy one in the family, and here are your choices.
Yeah, anyway. So we did that last year when her family came by. Her mom and dad came out, and they both had laptops and tablets and phones, and I got to put in my 32 character password 6 times in an hour. I was displeased, but I fully admit I did this to myself.
So again, it's our recommend. I want to end this specific part of the conversation. We spent 20 minutes on it, but basically it's find your trust place. And if you want to share your master password with your spouse or your trusted roommate or your kids or whatever it is, okay, that's your benefit. But there are other methods. The WhatsApp sending the passwords there is one way. The giving it to your lawyer is another way. You can do what I do, write it down and then put in a safety deposit box in case it comes up. Our favorite thing is to both use the delegated feature on LastPass and deal with the one-offs like the Roku or the Wi-Fi password or whatever else. But it's okay not to give your passwords to anybody. But remember, you're the one typing 32 random characters into somebody's phone when they ask for it.
The only, the biggest piece of advice I can give is if you are, doing the copy paste into a messaging app to get a password across, please use something secure. Don't use Google Hangouts. That history lives forever unless you go through and manually delete it. Don't use Facebook Messenger unless you're on secrets mode. Or private conversation or whatever they call their Signal implementation. Use WhatsApp, use Signal, use something that you can easily clear the messages or delete individual messages, and make sure that it's going to be end-to-end encrypted, right? Don't SMS your master password to your spouse. It's just not a good idea.
Or make a rule that, and just following up with you, you'll give the password whenever it is, if it is really, really long. So, hey, you want my password? Okay, it's not password 1234. It's this very long thing that I will type it out every single time.
Yeah.
Which I like to do in that case. I don't like to remember anybody's password. You go do tech support, what's your password? And they have to tell you 30 times. Would you like me to write it down? No. Just tell it to me because I don't want to remember it. I'd rather you tell it to me 30 times, 40 times, and I just mindlessly type it in than I remember it. So then when something happens, you don't come to me and say, you were the only one who knew that.
Yeah. We, back in working tech support, I used to have that issue. Somebody would hand me their computer and be like, oh yeah, my university password. Was like, no, don't tell me. Y'all have to change it if you tell me.
Yep.
And then if they told me and I changed it, they got really angry. But, security. Yeah.
Well, so I don't know if you have any questions, again, come to the WhatsApp group. We'll be more than happy to walk you through it. But this came across Twitter and I just felt like sharing it and how I don't do it. And people look at me funny. You don't do that? No, I don't. I like to keep everything private. But with the time left, the next topic was the Supreme Court said in very few words that cell phone location tracking you need a warrant for, which is awesome news. The problem is they didn't say for all communications. For in general practice, you need a warrant. So I don't know exactly what that means, but that's still a good thing.
So this basically means that unless there's a national security event, essentially, or an imminent event, the police require a warrant to track your phone through various location services. They can't just hijack your phone and use a third party like we talked about before, where everyone could gain access to GPS data with a really no authentication whatsoever through a demo portal on one of these websites. I was selling something to law enforcement. They can't do that anymore. They have to have a warrant, which is good. That's how it should be. This is nice. It could have been better, right? They could have said all location or all cell phone data, but the case itself was very specific to location data. Was the defendant thought was illegally obtained without a warrant, and it should have been under warrant. And the Supreme Court agreed with that. So awesome.
Yay for privacy. And again, you don't know how much location data you're sharing. And just remember, even if you turn it off on the phone, so you don't give it to Google or Apple or Facebook or Microsoft or Amazon, Verizon still has it because you have to triangulate against the towers. And you're saying, well, that's not that exact. It can be more exact than you think. And knowing that, and again, people don't know what you're doing, but if they notice that you're at a gas station and then you're at a bank and then you were speeding away and the bank magically gets robbed, you have this.
Or they see you hit a gas station, then an ATM, then a Papa John's. They know exactly what you're doing tonight.
So yeah, and so location data becomes a lot more. And I wish it was a little more it went a little further than that with other things like addressing whether fingerprint. The Supreme Court does not want to address a lot of the password issues. They'll skirt around it as much as they can because I don't think they're ready yet to do it, because that's going to have a very overreaching implication. So
yeah, and when it comes to case law and stuff like this, they only want to make judgments against the specific issues isolated in the case. They don't want to go fully outside of that or take a broader stroke than they need to on any one particular issue. So I do understand it. I get it.
And then we got appropriately 3 minutes left. You're going to tell us about encryption, ECB ciphers, and not really what it is, but I think we can get this done in 3 minutes.
Yeah. So this is just a general statement, general words of caution. Just because something is encrypted doesn't mean it's encrypted well. Encryption and in software is extremely nuanced, right? It's not, you can't even boil it down to this is good and this is bad, right? Some modes of AES encryption are going to be fantastic for full disk encryption and absolutely terrible for network encryption. Some modes of AES are going to be terrible, the vast majority of the time, except in this one weird niche edge case where it actually works way better than anything else. One thing that I can tell you that is, totally broken is if you Google AES electronic codebook, you can find a Wikipedia article that actually shows how this is broken. And it's a really cool article and a really cool image. So, please go look this up. They've got a picture of Tux, the Linux penguin on the left. That's the original image. If you encrypt that with AES and electronic codebook mode, it changes all the colors around, but you can absolutely see the outline of a penguin and distinguishing features like the arms, hands, feet, his face. It's a little garbled, but you can still tell what it is. And that's because electronic codebook is kind of like a Caesar cipher, where you take some bits and you change them into other bits. And that's literally the only thing it does. It doesn't do any kind of chaining. The previous value doesn't influence future values. It literally changes just one byte at a time. And because of that, you can see patterns in data. The moral of the story being, just because something says it's encrypted, just because it says military grade encryption, doesn't mean that you are getting what you pay for, or that you're getting what you expect, or that you're even getting something that can keep you marginally safe. If you are trading pictures back and forth and an application is using electronic codebook to encrypt and decrypt, they're as good as plain text. You're literally gaining no amount of protection whatsoever out of that. So good news is electronic code book has been known to be broken for, forever in cryptography terms. So it's very rare that someone would actually use it in practice today. But that said, this is why this is why security audits are good. This is why open source is good. This is why it's good to have people paying attention to cryptography and the little nuanced issues that can come up when building a secure application.
And again, this is still better than rule number 1 of do not roll your own crypto.
Yes, please do not roll your own crypto. If you are a programmer and you are looking to build an application that uses a lot of cryptography or security, if you want to play around with stuff, look up NaCl crypto. NaCl crypto. And NaCl is pronounced salt because hackers just love to confuse people. And it's sodium chloride, the symbols. But anyway, salt cryptography allows or gives you a bunch of really nice sane defaults. So if you wanted to go play with this, there are implementations in just about every programming language out there. Golang has got one. The box and secret box packages, they're fantastic and easy to use. So if you want to play with cryptography, you can use the Salt crypto stack safely and easily, and they do a lot of known good defaults to keep you safe.
Yep. And the last thing I was going to say, I wanted to say it before, is read what they say. So this is encrypted in transit. Well, you see the word encryption. That's not what that means. It means that in transit, meaning on the pipes. At each end, the servers have to decrypt it. And you see this a lot. You see encrypted in big letters, and then in really small letters, you see in transit or while not at rest or any
encrypted in transit literally means they use HTTPS somewhere.
It's Google was famous for this. They said, "Oh, your data is encrypted in transit," which apparently meant that it wasn't encrypted in transit before. Google still needs to see all that data. They can say whatever they want, but they still can't encrypt everything while they're analyzing it. So it has to be decrypted at some point, and then that means that somebody else has access to it. So just be aware of that when you see these military grade encryptions or encrypted in transit or whatever else it says. Start digging into what does that actually mean, and you're going to find a lot of times it's not what you thought.
Yeah, unfortunately, cryptography and security is a pretty nuanced field.
And yes, and it's hard because the bad guys have to, we say this all the time, the bad guys have to be right once. Once they break something, that's it. And they're going to keep it secret for as long as they can. And then it's up to everyone else to figure it out. And that's when you get like Heartbleed Inspector and you find all these other things, and these difficult problems get even harder. Anyway, we are way over time. Actually, not really, but we will end now. And I guess we will see everyone next week.
See everyone.
Okay.